The flame of prayer does not ascend from perfection. Its light is born in the shadows. From broken places, from ruptured hearts, from the jagged edges of our despair, prayer emerges as a cry that tears the veil between earth and heaven. In the silent cavern of the soul where wounds stitch their ragged hymns, a power awakens. Like Jacob wrestling until dawn, like David in the wilderness crying out from psalmic night, like Solomon seeking wisdom beside still waters, so too do we discover that the deepest prayer is forged in the crucible of pain, tempered by tears, shaped by the ache of wanting to belong, to be known, to be healed. Under the canopy of our suffering resides the shadow, the part of us deemed unworthy, hidden even from ourselves. It is there, in the dark corners, that the wounded soul learns to kneel. The prayer born here is not practiced posturing. It does not seek applause or badges. It trembles with raw honesty. Why, O God, have you forsaken me? And in that trembling question, the alchemy begins. Jung taught that our shadow holds not only our dread but our buried gold, those gifts masked by shame, unacknowledged until we embrace them baptismally. And so prayer becomes a vessel, taking into its depths both the poison and the dew, reserving neither, opening fully. As the prayer deepens, we step into the unconscious, a cavern vast and fertile, populated by ancestral echoes, archetypal resonances, psalmic chants older than language. Here we encounter the archetypes, the wounded healer we carry, the redeemer that calls us forth, the eternal mother that shelters, the wise king that judges, the wanderer that quests. Each emerges when our prayer is more than words. It becomes an invocation, summoning the unseen companions of our journey. In the language of Proverbs, we find wisdom walking in the streets, crying out for our attention. We awaken to the gnomic truths, rescue those being led away to death. We hear creation's song and tremble at its ancient call. This is the dance of ego and self, the fragile persona we present to the world, and the deeper wholeness that waits behind the curtain. Prayer drawn from woundedness shatters illusions. The ego falters. Its defense walls crumble. We taste the wild freedom of unmasking. Yet beyond the ego's collapse, we step into the threshold of the self, feeling for the pulse of the archetypal center. We discover the self's gravity. It draws us into its orbit, anchoring us to that which never breaks. Even when we do, we move into individuation, the calling toward wholeness. Like the prodigal returning, we journey inward, bearing our debts of shame, yet carrying a fierce determination to rise. From Psalm 23 we hear, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil." That valley is within each of us. That valley is the wounded soul's forge, and the prayer rising from it is not a petition for comfort alone. It is a vow to meet the darkness, to carry the fire, to emerge with a lamp lit from within. In this emergence, we glimpse spirituality beyond religion, a visceral belonging to the living cosmos. As Proverbs whispers, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." We sense our plans rolling open like scrolls before unseen hand. Our prayer becomes not just a wish, but a surrender and a listening. We begin to tune our heart's antenna to the currents of grace flowing through us, rooted in ancient promise, guiding us toward purpose hidden in plain sight. Purpose reveals itself not in achievement, but in allegiance to the song within us. We feel the threads connecting our wounds to the world's wounds, to the hungry, the lonely, the lost. The wounded soul's prayer carries others across chasms. It tethers the solitary spirit to community, to an unseen body. In our pain, we take up a mantle of compassion, for as Isaiah wrote, "He gives power to the faint. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." Our prayer is elixir, bearing the wounded to flight. In the furnace of pain, transformation blooms. The alchemical process is neither quick nor painless. Dross is burned, illusions purged, the false self immolated. But out of the ashes sprouts the self, whole, radiant, a living word written on our bones. We see our reflection in the living water. We discover that we are both the cracked pitcher and the unbroken source. The wounded soul has become channel. By the time the narration arrives at its close, the wounded one is not the same. That prayer, pressed like oil from grapes, becomes luminous, woven into the star stuff of God's own making. We feel the invitation, rise. As the prayer of the wounded soul ascends, it does not leave the pain behind. It gathers it, braids it, and lifts it as an offering to the unseen. It is in the offering of our wounds that we become whole. It is in the acknowledgement of our darkness that we learn to bear the light. The paradox is ancient. That which has broken us is also the seedbed of our greatest becoming. The prayer that rises from this soil is not a cry for escape, but a plea for transfiguration. And so, at the threshold of this journey, we stand with open hands, with the psalmist's tears still fresh upon our cheeks, with the prayers of our ancestors murmuring in the night air. We carry the weight of our wounds not as chains, but as keys, keys that unlock the hidden doors of compassion, courage, and belonging. Each scar becomes a seal of authenticity, each tear an offering to the altar of transformation. In the hush between our words, we sense the living presence of the divine, no longer a distant deity, but the very breath breath that sustains us. For it is written, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." We are the brokenhearted. We are the crushed in spirit. And from our fragile lips a prayer is born that touches the marrow of the soul. It is a prayer that knows its own insufficiency, yet dares to speak, "Here I am." And in that utterance, a river flows. A river that carries us to places we cannot yet imagine. The self emerges not as a goal achieved, but as a journey ongoing, a light flickering in the dark, a quiet strength at the heart of all things. Let the prayer of the wounded soul become the anthem of your becoming. Let it weave itself into your days and your nights, into your doubts and your certainties. Let it be the voice that calls you home when the world grows cold. Let it remind you that within your deepest wounds lies a wellspring of grace waiting to be drawn forth. For the prayer that comes from the wounded soul is not just a plea, it is a covenant, a vow to rise, to walk the valley, to embrace the shadow, to meet the self in its wholeness. It is the ancient song that the universe has been waiting for you to sing. So rise, beloved soul, rise from the ashes of your pain. Rise with the prayer that carries your tears as stars across the night sky. Rise with the knowing that your wounds have prepared you for this holy offering of yourself to the world. For in the end, it is not the absence of pain that makes us whole. It is the presence of grace within the pain. And in that grace, the wounded soul becomes the luminous vessel of the prayer that changes everything.